Hi, I'm Michelle from Jersey Shore Paint Party. We are going to make the ocean heart today. This is what our finished product will look like. You see you have your sandy beach, we have the different colors in the ocean and your surf. So let's go over what we have in the kit. You'll find a container marked 1 and 2, that's the resin and the hardener, and you have a mixing cup. You have your heart, but your heart will have a wood tone and you'll be painting that to get it ready for the project. You'll have white paint and a brush, and you will just paint. One coat is fine. We want it to have a nice base so that the colors are nice and vibrant. It's recessed so that the resin doesn't pour out, the epoxy, once it's mixed. You'll find white paint, you'll have shells, some starfish, you'll have sand, there's a mixing stick, you have a brush, a straw, and you have some cups here that already have paint ready in them. You have the light blue, the dark blue, and the white with mixing sticks. You have a packet of crushed shells, and if you look underneath the heart, you have 3 cups here that you'll use to support the heart, and you have some vinyl gloves. You want to take the lids off carefully, and I'm pouring number 1 into the mixing cup first. I want to get that all into the cup. I'm going to use the mixing stick to scrape around the sides of the cup and the bottom and allow it to drain out. I want to get all of that in there. I'm kind of getting the last little bits out by scraping it out. So I have my number 1 in there. Now I'm pouring number 2 right in. Same thing. I'm scraping the sides and the bottom. I want to make sure I get everything out of this cup. And I'm scraping out the final. Okay. So I'm starting to mix this, and you'll notice that it turns almost silvery, and when you mix this, that silvery look will be gone in about 2.5 to 3 minutes. So you want to stir. You don't want to go too fast or too slow. If you notice that you're getting some bubbles, you don't need to worry about that because bubbles will dissipate once they are on the heart. You want to scrape around the sides and also pull up from the bottom. So I'm pulling up from the bottom. I want to make sure all that resin gets mixed up. So I'm going to finish mixing this up, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay, so you can see my mix is done. I do have some bubbles in there, but I don't have any more of that streaky, greasy look. So I'm going to put this to the side. I have the light blue and the dark blue and the white, and I'm going to get these all mixed before I start. Now I'm going to save some clear in here for the sand part of the beach. So I'm pouring only about half, and you won't even need that much of the white. Now I'm going to pour into right over the light blue, about 3/4. You want to leave room to mix. Same thing, about 3/4. Now the rest of this I'm going to be pouring onto my heart for my sand area. I'm going to let that sit there for now, and I want to mix all this up. I don't want this to sit here too long. So you want to make sure that this does not look stringy or streaky. You want to get a nice smooth mix of the paint. Mix up the blue. And I'm not rushing, but I'm not taking my time. I don't want these to sit in the cup too long because they might thicken up on me, and I don't want that to happen. I want them to stay flowing. Okay, the white is going to be last. I'm going to get that stirred up. Okay, there's my white. I'm going to get started by adding the sand. I'm going to use my original stick to kind of mix that about. So I'm mixing this to make sure all the sand gets wet with the resin. You'll want to have paper towel or something nearby to clean up any residue. Damp paper towel or a wipe. A baby wipe is good. You want to wipe up anything that goes over the edges as you're working. So you can see how the sand is mixing nicely. I'm going to put a little more on there. My beach looks good. I'm going to leave my beach alone for a little bit, even though it's not completely mixed. It's going to settle on its own. So I want to get the other colors on there. I don't want to wait too long. So I'm going to start on this end. The darker blue would be the farthest away. The ocean is darker the further away from you it is. Now, I'm not starting right close to the edge because I don't want it to go over the edge. So I'm kind of just pouring around my heart, around the curved parts of my heart. And epoxy really finds its own level. I'm going to get all that out. Okay. Then I'm going to, and now I'll put the blue out. You want to get them out of the cups and work on them when they're in the heart. So I'm letting some of this even mix over. So I want to make sure I get all these onto my work area. So now you want to be real careful pushing the epoxy up to the edge of the heart. I'm not letting it mix with my sand, but I'm pushing it up there. Looks nice. I have a nice curved look to my beach right now. I'm not worried about it staying curved or being perfect. I want to keep pushing my epoxy as close as I can to the edge without letting it flow over. Let me get this up. I'm going to start moving some of this blue around too. I'm going to pull a little bit down in to the lighter blue. Now you can mix it as much as you like. I like to mix them up a little bit. When you're working with epoxy, you want to work with it not like you're in a race, but you want to make sure that you get it where you want it while it's still flowing, because it will start to thicken up as you're working. If you get any of this colored epoxy on your white edge, you want to get it off right away so that it doesn't stain your edge. Okay, so my epoxy has filled in the heart very nicely. I am pulling some of the lighter blue into my darker blue. Okay. I'm going to do my surf with my white now. I want to give it another stir. You want to make sure it didn't separate. Stir it up, make sure it didn't separate while you were working on the rest of the stuff. I want to stir it really well. I'm going to let it drizzle along my coastline, but on this side of the sand. So very carefully. Following the shoreline. Okay, you won't be using all of it. You hardly use any of it. And then I'm going to use my straw. I'm going to blow right into the white. I'm blowing straight down, and then I'm doing a little bit on an angle here and there. Now I'm going to start putting all the embellishments on the heart. You have your cup of shells, you have the starfish. I didn't mention this before, but you have crushed glass, which you could use along the shoreline, or you could just put into the ocean there. I'm going to open up my crushed shells, and I'm going to add some of those onto my beach. Now, if you have something at home you'd like to add to your creation, if it's porous, grab some Mod Podge or some other kind of a sealant. Test an area first, and then you can seal it and put it on. Anything like shells should be fine. Anything that has a hard surface. So I'm just placing them into the epoxy right over the sand. As long as it is touching the epoxy, it's going to stay. So I'm also going to add some of these little starfish, and they're very fragile. So you want to kind of grab them as gently as you can. You can add them right onto the sand or into the ocean, or partial, whatever you like. Okay, and the last thing that I'm going to do is add the mirror. I think I'm going to put some in my surf to make it a little more sparkly. Just shake that right on. And I'm going to add some in my water. Actually, you can also use your white to put a little bit of interest in the ocean if you wanted to. Just kind of like there's little areas of surf out there. Remember, everyone's will be different and unique. Okay, so I like that. And remember to clean off any of your spots off your edges. And that's it. When you're done, you want to make sure that It's not anywhere your pets or children can touch it. It needs to dry for 3 days and it will have a beautiful, hard, shiny finish. We suggest that you cover it with some sort of a box or a storage container, anything that will cover the whole thing. And you don't want to touch it for 3 days. So that's it. It's completely finished. Thank you for purchasing the kit from us and joining us for the video instructions. Have a great day and be well.